Ladies and gentlemen, it's another fine day. The weather here in Kisumu is good. Raila Odinga held a major rally in Thika on Saturday. And that rally actually marked the beginning of Raila Odinga's bid for the presidency. But there are several things which I observed during that rally. One of the things I observed was the seating arrangement. And particularly where Peter Kenneth sat. Peter Kenneth sat next to Raila Amolo Odinga. And just like I keep on saying on this platform, in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence. Everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. Raila Amolo Odinga, in my view, unveiled to Kenyans his running mate. And that running mate is Peter Kenneth. Peter Kenneth is not a member of parliament elected, he's a former. He's not a leader of any political party as we speak today. Peter Kenneth is not a member of parliament. He's not a government official. During the event in Thika, there was the governor of Kiambu who sat next to Raila Odinga, which is okay. Then there was the cabinet secretary, Peter Munya, who ought, in terms of strict protocol, who ought to have sat next to Raila Odinga. So ideally, Raila Odinga should have been sandwiched between Dr. Nyoro, the Kiambu governor, and Peter Munya. But the person who was next to Raila Odinga is actually Peter Kenneth. And when Amos Kimunya was introducing or recognizing the presence of leaders present at that event, Raila Odinga at some point pointed to him, reminded him about Peter Kenneth, who was seated next to him.
Munamujua, leader of majority, our current sitting prime minister, Mheshimiwa Amos Kimunya Kipipiri. Asante, makofi kwake. Asante sana Mheshimiwa gavana wangu. Haya, asante kwa ruhusa na heshima kuu. Nimeambiwa na Mheshimiwa the fifth president nitambue kwa kipekee Mheshimiwa Peter Kenneth ambaye anashikilia kinara kwa karibu. Asante sana kinara wetu. Thank you very much our governor. Na ungeniruhusu tu, najua kuna chairman ambaye mlikuwa you are co-chairing with, ambaye tuko naye hapa, PS Njoroge. PS Njoroge, tafadhali.
Which begs the question, is Peter Kenneth the preferred running mate to Raila Amolo Odinga? So in this video, I want us to look at why Peter Kenneth is emerging as a potential running mate to Raila Amolo Odinga after that Thika event. But before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, I want you to take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue. Thank you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. So, just like I know you've really supported me all along, yesterday you guys really offered your support. This one, I want to make a request. Just give it thumbs up. And for those who can drop their comments, please drop your comments. I want to be very brief on this. Now, let us get back to serious business. Why was Peter Kenneth sitting next to Raila Odinga? In my view, only two reasons. Number one, I want to believe, and that's the objective of this video, is the fact that Peter Kenneth is now the favorite for Raila Amolo Odinga, running mate. Or number two, Raila Amolo Odinga maybe allowed him to sit next to him just to camouflage his strategy. But because in politics nothing happens out of mere coincidence, I strongly believe that by Peter Kenneth sitting next to Raila Amolo Odinga, there was a message which Raila Odinga was actually communicating to the people of the larger Mount Kenya region and to Kenyans in general. Now, let us begin by looking at the potential running mate to Raila Amolo Odinga. I will begin by Kalonzo Musyoka, because I want us to look at the possible running mates and why I strongly believe it's Peter Kenneth. So let me just go through those who are being rumored to be considered. Kalonzo Musyoka was Raila Odinga's running mate in the last 2 elections. Then after the handshake, he fell out with Raila Odinga. And before we knew, Kalonzo Musyoka was with Musalia Mudavadi, Gideon Moi, Weta, and the rest in One Kenya Alliance. So as we speak, Kalonzo Musyoka is likely to be on the ballot. But his team are saying that please join Azimio. But from all indications, Raila Odinga has realized that he needs the Kikuyu votes. So I don't think Raila Odinga will go for Kalonzo Musyoka as his running mate. Then let us go to the second guy, Lee Kinyanjui. When Raila Odinga began the Azimio, Lee Kinyanjui played a critical role. He was a constant figure. And most Kenyans believe that Raila Odinga was considering having Lee Kinyanjui as his running mate. If you ask me, the possibility of Lee Kinyanjui becoming Raila Odinga's running mate is now at 30%. Lee Kinyanjui has already formed his own political party, which means Lee Kinyanjui will be defending his seat in Nakuru on that party. Then there is Ndiritu Muriithi, the guy Raila Odinga appointed as the head of his campaigns. As a matter of fact, this guy also emerged as a potential running mate to Raila Amolo Odinga. But as things stand today, he's now the head of the campaigns, which means he will not be a candidate. And he's going to defend his seat. Then there is Martha Karua. Martha Karua was being favored. In fact, most people believe that Martha Karua ought to be Raila Odinga's running mate, because she's a woman, she's been there, done that, she's strong. But when Martha Karua started flirting with Moses Kuria, Mwangi Kiunjuri, Justin Muturi, she lost it. And she's been also very clear that she's not going to be anybody's running mate, that her focus is on Kirinyaga. So she's also out. Then there was the talks at some point of William Kabogo. But I think William Kabogo boxed himself out of the race. Then at some point, when the Mount Kenya Foundation started supporting Raila Odinga, they also mentioned the name of James Mwangi, the founder of Equity. I don't think the guy has interest in politics as we speak. Then the last one is my favorite, Peter Munya. If you ask me, if I were Raila Odinga, I'd go for Peter Munya for several reasons. Peter Munya comes from Meru, and therefore he can easily lock Meru if he's a running mate, and Tharaka Nithi, and maybe Embu. And of course, the Kikuyus who have agreed to support Raila Odinga might also support Peter Munya, so as to address the issue of Mount Kenya East and the Kikuyu Nation. But from what I can read, Peter Kenneth has now emerged as the choice for Raila Odinga's running mate. So the question is, why Peter Kenneth? Why Peter Kenneth? And who will be William Ruto's running mate from the other side? Maybe that's a topic for another day. But why is Peter Kenneth emerging? Number one, I believe that Peter Kenneth is emerging as a potential running mate because in almost all political activities Raila Odinga is attending, Peter Kenneth is there. So basically, there is a space which is being created for Peter Kenneth around Raila Amolo Odinga. They're giving him visibility. So whenever you see Raila Odinga attends a rally and Peter Kenneth is there, Peter Kenneth will always be around Raila Odinga. So which means these guys are creating a space for him. From Thika, in Thika, that event was being organized by the Mount Kenya Foundation, and definitely with the support of, with the help of the governor. And there are several other senior leaders from that region. There was that space of Peter Kenneth. You know, in politics, sitting arrangements, body language are very, very important. So I think the fact that there's always an attempt to make Peter Kenneth visible around Raila Odinga confirms that indeed Peter Kenneth is the choice. I don't know whether you have a problem with that. Number two is the role Mount Kenya Foundation is playing around Raila Odinga. The fact of the matter is that Mount Kenya Foundation is going to support Raila Amolo Odinga, or have played a huge role in Raila Odinga's campaigns up to now. The person Mount Kenya Foundation is comfortable with as Raila Odinga's running mate is none other than Peter Kenneth. And that's why in all these events, he's always around Raila Odinga, because most of these events are organized through or by the Mount Kenya Foundation. I don't think Mount Kenya Foundation, if given a chance, would push for Peter Munya, because Peter Munya is not really an insider. Peter Kenneth is an insider. So the fact of the matter is that the Mount Kenya Foundation and the forceful support they are coming with confirms that Peter Kenneth is going to be a factor. Number three is the Nairobi politics. At some point, I opined on this platform that Peter Kenneth has or had the opportunity of becoming the next governor of Nairobi. He contested in 2013. He was defeated. And at some point, it was clear that he was going to go for Nairobi. Then they started making him appear as a national leader. But Nairobi is now sealed. The contest in Nairobi is now going to be a two-horse race between the ODM candidate, who is Tim Wanyonyi, and Ngatia, the tycoon. And Nairobi politics is also going to be negotiated on the table. And since it's going to be negotiated on the table, my understanding, and I strongly believe that Mount Kenya region are telling Raila Odinga, give us the running mate, give us Nairobi. So Raila Odinga in my view, has already ceded Nairobi to them. For the running mate, maybe Uhuru Kenyatta will decide. But from my thinking, the fact that Nairobi is already under someone else, Peter Kenneth is likely to be chosen as Raila Odinga's running mate. Number five, why Peter Kenneth is the Murang'a factor. You know, if you look at the Kikuyu or the larger Mount Kenya politics, how many tribes, sub-tribes there have managed to become the president? There's Kibaki, there's only the Kenyatta families. Those are the realities. But the Murang'a guys, who are the largest billionaires, are saying now, this time around, they also want one of their own to be a deputy president. You know, the Mount Kenya East is also demanding. Yeah? But from my own observation, it seems the Mount Kenya tycoons, who are majorly the Murang'a, are settling on Raila, and they're pushing for the nomination of Peter Kenneth as his running mate. And lastly is Peter Kenneth's acceptability. You see, one thing you'll have to agree to is that when Peter Kenneth was the member of parliament for Gatanga, his use of CDF was fantastic. He's remembered for that up to this stage. Again, Peter Kenneth, based on the fact that he's Peter Kenneth, is acceptable. The entire country, I don't think there are people who will view Peter Kenneth as a Kikuyu if, for example, he's nominated. The fact of the matter is that Peter Kenneth is easily acceptable to the entire country more than any other thing, more than any other person. And because of that acceptability, Raila Odinga is comfortable sitting next to him. I don't know what you think. That's my take. And thank you guys for taking your time to watch this particular episode. And I want to ask you guys to check on the next episode, which is also coming up shortly. And one thing I know for sure is that you guys would want to hear the details about the meeting which took place at State House in Nairobi, which was attended by One Kenya Alliance principals and Raila Odinga. I know you guys are also waiting for me to analyze Musalia Mudavadi again, because on 23rd, he will launch his presidential bid. I don't know what you think, but until that time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye. May you have a good day.